morning. I don't know what to play. Oh. I think that's how it goes, sort of. That was terrible. I didn't get enough sleep last night. You can blame the lack of sleep. I had to get up an hour early. I have to do some extra baking this morning. baking some mini bagels. Morning. There once was a young man named Roland Pye who played the recorder when he wasn't baking bagels. One day he was walking through a park and playing with his recorder to rest a while from all his baking, when suddenly he spied a corpse lying on the ground beneath a swarm of flies. He put down his recorder, walked over to the corpse, shooed the flies away, and buried the dead body with stones. Returning to his oven later that day, he found that his oven blade had gone on by itself and already baked half the bagels he needed that day. From that day on, Roland Pye was the happiest baker alive. He would bake until he was tired. Then he would pull his recorder out of his pocket while his oven blade went on by itself. But Roland Pye lived in a town whose mayor did not admire his skill and was jealous of his fame. So the mayor devised a plan to rid the town of Roland. In the beginning, he said that Roland was a good worker, but lazy. Then he said that Roland baked a whole lot, but badly. Then he accused Roland of being a sorcerer, and the people turned on him. Roland therefore took his recorder and left his home behind. When Roland came to a neighboring town, he went to all the business owners, but none of them would give him any work. Finally, he met an old busker and asked him for work to keep body and mind together. "Come along with me," said the old man, "and we will share alms together." So Roland Pye and the old man started going around and playing and singing, "Baker, why do you bear those silent things? Baker, how did you forget to stand where your feet are? Baker, no woman loves your wealth, although it is golden and good for her health. Baker, you are too dirty for a lover to waste your cream. Your limbs are the knots and cords of an old-fashioned machine." Baker, line the rings and bash the boards. You don't need their applause for a thing that is yours. You are a baker and are what you are, not by a miracle, but by the work of your arms. Baker, stand where your feet are. Everybody gave alms to the old man. But to Roland, they said, "What is a young man like you out begging? Why don't you work for a living?" "Nobody will hire me," replied Roland Pye. "That's what you say. There is a king with so many hungry soldiers to feed. There's a king with so many hungry soldiers that he'll pay good wages to anyone willing to feed them." So Roland Pye went to the king's kitchen and took the old man whose alms he'd been sharing. The oven had never been used by anyone. Roland mixed the dough, then he rolled it into rings, then he boiled it, dressed it with seeds, then he baked them until they were golden brown. Then he tossed them into a crate to let them cool down. Whenever Roland wearied of baking, he would play his recorder, and once he was weary of playing his recorder, he would sing, "Baker, why do you bear those silent things? Baker, stand where your feet are. Baker, no woman loves your wealth, although it is golden and good for her health. Baker, you are too dirty for a lover to wish to preen. Your limbs are the knots and cords of an old-fashioned machine. Baker, line the rings and bash the boards. You don't need their applause for a thing that is yours. You are a baker and are what you are, not by a miracle, but by the work of your arms. Baker, be who you are. Hearing the singing of the princess looked out the window. She saw Roland Pye and fell in love with him. But she was a princess, and he a baker. The king would never consent to their marriage. So they decided to run away together. They fled at night in a boat. When they were already on the high seas, Roland remembered the old man. He said to his beloved, "We must fetch the old man. Since he shared his alms with me, we can't go off and leave him like that." At that very moment, the old man came up behind the boat, walking on the water as though it had been dry land. Reaching the boat, he said, "We agreed to divide everything we had, and I shared everything I owned. Now you have the king's daughter and must give half of her to me." At that very moment, at that he gave Roland a knife to cut his bride in half. Roland took the knife with a trembling hand. "You are right," he said. "You are perfectly right." He was on the point of cutting his bride in half when suddenly the old man stopped him. "Stop! I knew you were a just man. I am the dead body, mind you, whom you buried with stones. Go now, and may the two of you always be happy." The old man walked away on the waves. The boat came to an island rich in all good things, with a princely palace awaiting the newlyweds. Oh, I'm half asleep, my God. That was terrible. I should have warmed up. The poem. Hamlin Towns in Brunswick, my famous Hanover city. The river Weser, deep and wide, washes its long southern side. A pleasanter spot you never spied. Bohème begins my ditty, almost 500 years ago.